Ralph Waldo Emerson said, "Heartily know when the half-gods go, the gods arrive." When the half-gods go. Here at All Souls, when somebody dies, we hold a memorial service, and one of the ministers gets together with the family. This is a real important part, and we discuss the life of the person who's gone, so the minister can understand, and we can create a service that's right for that person, celebrate their life. And it's the minister sort of is interviewing everybody and facilitating a conversation that is truly a beautiful, sacred moment with a family, because all kinds of different people are there. You've got Aunt Susie and Uncle so-and-so and the nephews and the nieces and the children, sometimes parents, spouses, sometimes neighbors or colleagues from work, the inner circle of that person's life. And inevitably, you start hearing people say, "I never knew that Uncle Jimmy did that. I can't believe Grandma really did that when she was 18. And all of these things that people didn't know about the person who's died come to life. And in a way, because there's so many different experiences of the person, that person comes back to life, so to speak, before their eyes in a new way. Even in death, even in their absence, they're still alive and still having an influence on the people who love them. And that's true of all of us. It doesn't end when we die, but it continues our influence and our love. And we actually gain a deeper perspective sometimes, because when the person was alive, we had our individual experience of the person, but what we did not have was all these other experiences to give us a more full picture of who that person is. Now, in these deathbed conversations with people who are dying, one of the things that parents, particularly mothers, sometimes are thinking about is, will my children get along after I die? Will they stay connected once I'm gone? They see some bickering or some fighting and things like that, and they start getting worried. And they say, did I do a good enough job? Have I done my job? What if they go their separate ways? And there's a sort of heartbreak. But part of it's based on the idea that there's a thought that once we're dead, we're done. Our influence is done and our love is done. But what we fail to realize is that it continues. Even in our absence, great gifts of love and purpose and possibility come. Think about Jesus. When Jesus' disciples, they didn't all get along when he was alive, right? They didn't even understand half of what he was talking about, it seemed like most of the time, right? But then when he was gone, when he was absent from them, all of a sudden they came together, and all of a sudden they understood his message in new ways and went out and spread it around the world. Sometimes in absence, we find a fullness of somebody's purpose and their love. So absence itself isn't necessarily a bad thing. We learn this in our lives. If you're a parent, you know that kids come to us and they, hey, little Timmy's, he's took my toys and and they start yelling and they try to grab on the sleeve of your shirt, and they try to grab you into the conversation, and you say, you know what, darling, you need to go and talk to him and explain what he's doing and what that feels like to you, and work it out yourselves, right? We say that to the kids, because otherwise if we keep interjecting and working it out for them, they never learn how to grow up. And so we do this with our kids, and our absence is important for their growth and for them to become fully who they're going to be in the world and to be well adjusted and to be healthy in the world. And it's true, I think of that with the staff here at the church, because there are meetings where I've learned over the years, I've learned the hard way, that it's better for me not to be there sometimes. That if I'm there, people are looking to me, oh, he must have the answer, let's see what he wants to do, there's no point in me saying anything because Marlin's about to say something, and then that's what we're going to do anyway, that type of thing. And I realize creativity comes in some of those meetings, in the right meetings, when I'm not there. And so our absence is really an important part of the gift that we give to people in our lives. And so the same is true with God. Sometimes the absence of God, the silence, is exactly what we need. Now, I want to go a little bit further with this, because I think this is indeed the blessing and the gift of the agnostics and the secular humanists in our world and in our congregation. And we've got quite a few in this congregation who don't believe in God. And they're real clear about that, but they love anyway. That they need to love anyway. And the way that they understand it, the way it's been described to me, and to be quite honest, I've been there myself. I lived that way for a number of years. And the point was, there is no God, And therefore, it's up to us. No God's going to come and make me wealthy. No God's going to come and make me healthy. No God's going to come back and bring justice to this world and help save the homeless and the children in these rotten schools we have. It's not going to happen. No God's going to do it. It's up to us. And that's one of the gifts of those who don't understand God, is the ones who love anyway, is that they're out there making a difference and they're not counting on God. They're not relying on God. And that's a good lesson to all of us who do believe in God. Because there are a lot of people in this also are like those rabbis who the idea of God that we had as a child is no longer makes sense to us, and yet we're still seeking. We're still discovering. We're still meditating or doing yoga or praying or fasting or doing whatever we do to try to get back in touch with something that's real for us, to nurture our spirit. We all nurture our bodies, we all nurture our minds and learn, but there's something we call in the human experience as the spirit that also needs to be nurtured. And so people nurture that spirit, still not sure, still haven't replaced God or even thought that I could understand the mystery and the source of all life and truth, but I'm going to stay on the journey. And then there are people in this congregation too, many of us who recognize that we, through our own experience, are very clear in the presence of God in our lives. And very still open, knowing that that's always an unfolding mystery, but not in the question of whether there is a God. We have all of that here in this one church, in this one place, because we give each other the blessing of freedom. The blessing of freedom to ask questions, to doubt, to pray and praise the way that you find most useful, to discover in your own way, in your own time, what is true and what is real for me. And the beauty of the church, and this is my metaphor for today, is it's like that gathering after somebody dies, like the memorial service. We come around together when we're in small groups and we share, what's your experience of God? What's your experience or lack thereof? Let's share, because everybody has their own experience. No one person can know for sure what is God. If we think that, if you think that, I guarantee you, you are lost. That is one of the things that theologians across religions and denominations always say. If you think you understand fully the mystery of God, that leads to death. That's like the man in the flood story. That's going to lead ultimately to your death. Always stay open, always keep open in the question, and recognize that we need each other to get different perspectives and to bless each other. And the thing that I love about these memorial services and these meetings that we have before is that they're filled not only with tears, but with laughter and with joy. Because we need joy and we need amazement in order to be alive. In these discussions, the people that I find are who could talk about God and they don't have fun. They're not joyful conversations. Those rigid people like that on both sides of the spectrum. Those are the ones that I feel are missing and really in that death place and failing to be reborn into a deeper understanding. Dr. James Forbes, the minister from New York, he said humanists, he's a Christian minister, believes deeply in God and has preached it his whole life, and he says, the humanists, I think that they're God's secret weapon to teach of us how to be in this world, you know? So for him, I love that when a Christian minister can respect a humanist, an agnostic, an atheist, and vice versa. But too often, we can't have those conversations. Go in either direction. Agnostics really respecting a Christian minister and saying, let me cock my ear in your direction and hear what you know and what you've experienced about truth and God, because maybe I can learn something from you and stop just repeating in my mind all the stereotypes that I've always thought about Christianity or I've always thought about somebody who believes or who prays. When it goes both ways, it's awful because it's filled with amazement. And if there's one thing we need in this life, it is joy. There must be joy. If you don't believe in the God of your past, listen into that aching void. Listen for something that James Forbes said that was sent not by the way of the tympanic membrane. Listen for a deeper knowing beyond sound. Something in your own heart, because when you do, you will find yourself filled with joy and filled with amazement. If we cannot find joy in the midst of what we are doing, especially in relationship to our relationship to the Spirit, then the trees themselves will have to clap their hands. And then the fields will have to clap their hands. And then the wind will have to whistle in the sunshine if we're not. And the rivers are sure going to dance their way to the sea. Because there's got to be joy. Because without joy, life is over. Without amazement, we become too set in our ways and in our certainty. Without joy, we lose the spirit life. I feel the glory of the coming of the Lord. You know what I'm talking about? In the Bible, it says, I have set before you life and death. Choose death. No, it doesn't say that, does it? It doesn't say that. It says, choose life. I set before you life and death. Choose life. But in your life, you will find smaller deaths. When the marriage doesn't work out, when the friend moves away, when the job gets lost, when the children grow up and grow out, when those things happen, we will feel that as a death, and we need to be reborn. Who am I going to be now without this lover? How am I going to be now without this child, without this parent, without this job, without this title, without this role, without this church, whatever it is? Who am I now? We have to be reborn, not just the rebirth of God. So in those abandoned and lonely and silent places, let us listen in to something beyond what the ear. Listen closely, and let us love anyway. Because, as Emerson said, heartily know that when the half-gods go, the gods arrive. God bless you. Amen. Let us celebrate. Let us be joyful. Let us listen and love, and let us sing, and let us dance, and let us praise, and let us sing in whatever way makes sense to us in a world like this, in a time when we're alive and holidays are coming and celebration is happening. Find that place in your heart that's alive. We may not know who answers our praise and our prayer, but we know we're hungry. And that hunger itself is a form of connection. Go out into the world in peace. Have courage, hold on to what is good, and return to no person evil for evil. Strengthen the faint-hearted, support the weak, help the suffering, honor all beings. Go and be blessed and be a blessing. Amen.